She said it like it was nothing. Sit. He'll be back soon. But her hand stayed on my knee a little too long. The words were casual, meant to fill the air, but the touch, that stayed. Warm, steady, just enough pressure to remind me she was there. The room was quiet except for the low hum of the ceiling fan. Afternoon light slid through the blinds, striping the floor in gold. I could smell coffee, hers, half-finished, cooling beside an open magazine she wasn't reading. I didn't know where to put my hands. I hadn't expected to be alone with her. He'd said he was running to grab something from the store. 10 minutes, maybe 15. I told him I'd wait. Now I was waiting with his aunt. She wasn't what I'd imagined. Her voice carried a softness that didn't fit her sharp features. Her hair was tied back carelessly, a few strands falling across her face. When she spoke, she looked directly at me, as if testing whether I'd look away first. I didn't. She smiled, small and tired. You don't talk much, do you? I tried to laugh, but it came out thin. Not when I'm this out of place. Out of place. Her hand left my knee briefly, then found the armrest between us. You're fine. You just look like you're waiting for permission to exist. I didn't know what to say to that. The fan spun. Somewhere outside, a dog barked once, then stopped. She took a sip of her coffee, winced at the temperature, set it back down. I used to do that too, she said. Do what? Wait for people to come back before saying what I wanted to say. Her eyes met mine again, steady this time. You'll outgrow that. There was no flirting in her tone, just honesty. And yet, everything between us buzzed. The silence, the air, even the space where her hand had been. I tried to focus on something safe. He said he wouldn't be long. She gave a slow nod, then tilted her head slightly. He always says that. She shifted in her seat, one leg crossing over the other. The hem of her loose sweater slipped from her shoulder for half a second before she fixed it. Casual, unbothered, unaware that the small movement had pinned my attention. Or maybe she was aware. Her gaze flicked toward me, catching the way I looked away too late. Her lips curved, just barely. You're polite, she said. Trying to be. She laughed softly, low and real. Don't try too hard. It's only coffee and awkward silence. But the silence wasn't awkward. It was too full, too alive. Like we were both listening for something that wasn't there yet. She leaned back. The couch creaked. He tells me you're good with fixing things. Cars, mostly? Yeah. Small stuff. Engines, wiring. Keeps me sane. She nodded slowly, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug. I used to fix things too. Different kind, though. What kind? People. She smiled. Not proudly. More like she was confessing something. And in that moment, I realized how much she didn't say. How much she'd learned to keep folded inside. A clock ticked faintly in the next room. Her eyes lingered on me. Too long again. Then came the sound of a door unlocking. She blinked, hand still resting on the couch between us. The key turned once, twice. Guess he's back, I said. Her hand didn't move. For a breath too long, neither did I. Then, almost like she remembered herself, she smiled, the practiced kind, and pulled her hand away. The door opened, and I realized I wasn't breathing. The door had barely closed behind him when she said, "You should stay for dinner next time." Her tone was light, polite, but her eyes held something heavier, something that didn't match the easy rhythm of her voice. That was 2 weeks ago. Now I was back, standing in the same living room, pretending not to wonder if she'd remember saying it. Her nephew, my friend, was upstairs packing for a trip. Said he'd be a while. She offered coffee again. I said yes again. This time she sat closer. "You work too much," she said, handing me a mug. "Your hands look tired." I looked down at them, calloused small scars near the knuckles. "Occupational hazard." She smiled softly. "What is it you fix again? Cars? Or is it that you just like having something to keep you busy?" "Both." She nodded like she understood more than I'd said. "Busy keeps you from thinking too much." I didn't answer. The silence stretched. Not empty, but loaded. like she'd said something she regretted and I'd caught it. Her eyes drifted toward the window. When my marriage ended, I tried to stay busy too. Spent 3 years pretending that I liked being alone. Turns out, you can get good at pretending. Her voice cracked on that last word. Not enough to draw pity, just enough to feel real. I didn't know what to say. She didn't need sympathy. She needed space to breathe, and someone who wouldn't fill it with advice. So I just said quietly, "You don't seem like someone who's alone." That made her laugh. "Oh, you'd be surprised." She leaned forward slightly, elbows on her knees, eyes on the floor. The light from the window caught the silver in her hair. Not gray, but soft silver, like it belonged there. "I used to think people notice when you fade," she said. "They don't. You have to remind them you're still here." Her words hung between us. I watched the way her fingers curled around her coffee mug, tightening, loosening, as if the warmth anchored her. Without thinking, I said, "I notice." Her head turned toward me slowly. For a moment, she didn't breathe. Neither did I. Then she smiled, faint and unsteady. "You shouldn't say that." "Why not?" "Because you mean it." The air between us shifted, heavier now. She looked down again, setting the mug on the table, fingers brushing mine for a second too long. Every part of me went still. She exhaled, quiet but shaky. "You're too young to understand what that kind of noticing does to people." "Try me," I said. She stood not to leave but to move, walked past me, slow enough that her perfume lingered. She stopped behind the couch, hands resting on the back of it, as if she needed something solid. "Your friend thinks I'm strong," she said. "He has no idea how tired I am of pretending to be." I turned, met her gaze over her shoulder. There it was again, that invisible thread pulling tight between us. Her lips parted, like she was going to say something else, but didn't. The sound of his footsteps upstairs broke the moment. She looked up at the ceiling, then back at me. "He'll be down soon." I nodded. "I know." But neither of us moved. Her hand brushed the back of my arm as she passed. Just a second, warm, deliberate, trembling. And that single touch said more than anything we hadn't dared to say yet. She called it a favor. "Could you look at the car? It's making that noise again." I knew she could have taken it to any shop in town. But she didn't. She called me. Late afternoon. Quiet street. The kind of light that makes everything seem slower. I showed up, hands still stained from work. She was waiting by the porch, sleeves rolled to her elbows, hair up but falling loose. "Sorry," she said. "Didn't want to bother you." "You didn't." She smiled, small, unsure. "You always say that." The hood clicked open. I leaned in, pretending to focus, but she stayed close. Too close. Her shoulder brushed mine once. Twice. Not by accident. I said, "It's the belt. I can fix it." "Now?" "Yeah. Won't take long." She nodded, stepped back, arms folded. Not defensive. More like she didn't trust them not to move toward me. Minutes passed. The sound of tools, faint traffic, the low hum of her standing behind me. When I looked up, she was watching. Not the car, not what I was doing. Just me. "What?" I asked, trying to sound light. "Nothing." Her voice was softer than usual. "You just remind me of—" "Never mind." I straightened. "Of what?" "Someone who used to listen." Her eyes didn't move away when she said it. The silence that followed wasn't awkward this time, it was loaded. Full of everything we hadn't said since that last time. Then her phone buzzed on the hood between us. A message lit the screen, my friend's name. "Be there in 5. She stared at it too long. Like the words themselves were pulling her back into the world we both kept forgetting existed. I reached out, pushed the phone gently toward her. "You should text him back." She didn't. Instead, she looked at me, really looked, and said, barely above a whisper, "Sometimes I wish he wouldn't come back so fast." Something inside me stopped moving. The air between us changed, thick, charged. She took a small step forward. I felt the warmth of her before she touched me. Her hand lifted, hesitated near my collarbone. "This is wrong," she said. but her fingers didn't move away. Then tell me to go, I said. She didn't. Her thumb brushed the edge of my jaw, slow, trembling, like she was memorizing something she wasn't supposed to. For a moment, her breath touched my face. Coffee and something floral. My hands tightened on the wrench just to stop them from shaking. She leaned in barely until our foreheads almost met. Don't make me want this, she said, voice cracking. You already do. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Her eyes fluttered closed, like hearing them hurt. Then, from the driveway, a car door slammed. We jerked apart. She stepped back fast, fingers brushing her lips. I turned toward the engine, pretending to check the belt. Everything okay? He called from the gate. She answered first. Her voice was steady, practiced. Yeah, he was just helping me. He waved, heading toward us. I didn't look up, but I felt her glance. Quick, guilty, electric, before she turned away. Her hand grazed my back as she passed. A quiet thank you no one else would notice. And though nothing had happened, not really, every inch of me knew we'd both crossed a line we couldn't uncross. That it had been days since the garage. Days pretending the air between us hadn't changed. I told myself I wouldn't go back. Then she texted, "Can you stop by? Just for a minute." I went. The house was dim when I arrived. Evening light pressed against the curtains. The air smelled faintly of wine and rain, the kind that lingers on skin. She opened the door barefoot, sweater slipping off one shoulder. "Sorry," she said. "Didn't mean to make it sound urgent. She trailed off, unsure how to finish. "You just what?" She gave a soft, nervous laugh. "I didn't want to be alone tonight." Something in her voice hit me harder than I expected. Not flirtation, fatigue. Loneliness dressed as calm. Inside, the room felt smaller than before. She moved around quietly, refilling her glass, offering me one. I shook my head. "You sure? I'm fine." She nodded, sat on the couch. "You don't drink much. I like to stay clear." "Clear," she repeated, rolling the words slowly, like it meant something else. "That must be nice." I sat beside her, not too close. Not yet. The silence between us stretched, heavy and pulsing. The clock ticked loud in the corner. She turned to me suddenly. "Do you ever think about what people would say? If they knew we—" She stopped herself. "We what?" She smiled faintly. "Exactly." Her fingers toyed with the edge of her glass. Then she said, almost to herself, "You make me feel ridiculous." "How?" "Because I keep forgetting how young you are." That stung a little. Not because she meant to hurt me, but because she was right. I wanted her to forget that part. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. "Does it bother you?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Yes and no. It scares me." When I looked up, her eyes were already on me. Searching, conflicted, full of things she didn't have the courage to say out loud. I reached out before I could think better of it, brushed a strand of hair from her face. She didn't move. My fingertips grazed her cheek, warm, soft, trembling. Her eyes fluttered shut for a moment, and when they opened, the guard was gone. "You shouldn't do that," she said, voice thin, breath catching. "Then stop me." Her jaw tightened. She didn't. Instead, she leaned closer, barely an inch between us. I could feel her breath on my neck, smell the faint mix of rain and skin and wine. "I told myself I wouldn't cross this line," she whispered. "Not with you." "Then why call me?" Her throat moved, swallowing the truth she didn't want to speak. "Because I wanted to see if I could still stop myself." Her hand found mine. Tentative at first, then firm, her fingers sliding between mine like they belonged there. The air felt electric. My pulse hammered in my ears. Her other hand rose to my chest, resting there, just above my heart. Neither of us moved. Neither of us breathed. Then she whispered, so quiet it barely existed, "Tell me to stop." I didn't. Her lips hovered close enough that I could feel every word she didn't say. And just as the distance between us disappeared, a knock at the door shattered it. She froze. 3 knocks. Familiar voice, calling her name. Her hand slipped from mine, slow and shaking. We didn't look at each other. Couldn't. The line had been crossed, even if no one would ever see it. The knock still echoed in my chest long after the door opened. Her nephew's voice filled the hallway, easy, familiar, unaware. He said something about forgetting his wallet, laughed, then paused when he saw me sitting there. "Hey," he said, brow lifting. "Didn't know you were here again." I forced a smile. "She called about the car." He looked between us, slow. "Still giving trouble?" "Always does," she said too quickly, her voice catching on the end of the sentence. "He was just leaving." I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. My heart was still hammering, the warmth of her hand fading from my skin. He grabbed his wallet from the counter. "Guess I'll see you both later." He was gone as fast as he came. The door closed. Silence again, but different this time. She leaned back against the wall, eyes shut. That was close. I tried to laugh it off, but it came out rough. "Yeah." Her hand went to her chest, steadying herself. "He can't know," she said. "Not about." She stopped, as if realizing how close she was to saying something neither of us had defined. "About what?" I asked quietly. Her eyes found mine, sharp now. "Don't make me say it." I stood. The space between us felt charged again, but the air had changed. Guilt, fear, something heavier. "You called me. You let this happen." Her mouth opened, closed. "You think I don't know that?" I took a slow step forward. "Then why?" "Because," she said, voice cracking, "I thought maybe you'd stopped coming for him." The words hung there, raw and unguarded. She covered her mouth, but it was too late. We both heard it. "You thought—" I couldn't even finish. "You thought I came here for you?" Her laugh broke, trembling. "Don't pretend you didn't." Neither of us moved. The truth sat between us like heat. Then I said, quietly, "You're right." Her eyes widened, not with surprise, but with recognition. She already knew. She just hadn't let herself believe it. Something inside her shifted. Not relief, not anger, something closer to surrender. She pushed off the wall and walked past me, brushing my arm, her voice low. "You shouldn't have said that." "Why?" "Because now I can't unknow it." I turned, watching her pace the room, restless, hands in her hair. "You think I wanted this?" I asked. "Yes," she said without hesitation. Then softer, "And so did I." The silence that followed burned. Her breathing quickened, shoulders tense. I could see it, the fight between what she felt and what she feared. Finally, she stopped moving. "If he finds out—" "He won't." "You don't know that." She looked at me, eyes glassy, raw. "You don't understand what it would do to him." To me. I stepped closer. "Then tell me to leave." Her lips parted. She wanted to. I saw it in her jaw, the tremor in her hands. But instead, she whispered, "I can't." Her fingers brushed my sleeve. A barely there touch, but it stole my breath. Outside, a car engine started. Faded. Inside, the only sound was the uneven rhythm of our breathing. She looked up at me, regret and want tangled in her eyes, and said, "If this keeps going, it won't stop." I nodded, voice low. "Then maybe it's already too late." Her hand lingered on my arm, trembling, then stayed. The rain had started again, soft at first. A quiet tapping against the windows that filled every pause between us. We stood in her kitchen, neither of us speaking. My jacket was soaked. She'd offered a towel, but I hadn't used it. I was too busy watching the way her hands shook when she set her glass down. "Why are you here?" she asked finally. "You called me." Her eyes lifted, tired but bright. "And you came. Always." The word slipped out too easily. She heard it, felt it. Something in her posture softened, but only for a heartbeat. Then her guard snapped back into place. "You don't understand what this would mean," she said, voice low. "You're young, you still have time to—" "I know what I want." She shook her head. "No, you don't. You think this is about wanting." I took a step closer. "Then what is it?" Her breath hitched. It's about needing something you're not supposed to. We were inches apart now. The air smelled like rain and skin and electricity. The soft hum of the refrigerator filled the silence, steady and indifferent. You think I haven't tried to stop? She whispered. Then stop now. She looked up at me, close enough that I could see the faint smudge of mascara beneath her eyes, the exhaustion, the ache. You don't make it easy. Her hand brushed mine as she reached for her glass again. She missed it. The gesture was clumsy, human. Her fingers trembled, and before I could think, I caught them. She froze. Tell me this doesn't feel real, I said. Her throat moved, but no sound came. Tell me you don't think about it, I added, softer now. Her lips parted. Every day. That was it, the crack in the wall between us. I stepped forward. She didn't move. My hand found her cheek, thumb tracing the faint line just below her eye. Her skin was warm, alive, trembling under my touch. Her eyes searched mine, pleading for me to stop, begging me not to. I can't keep doing this, she said, breathless. Then don't. Her hand came up, pressed against my chest, not to push me away, to feel the rhythm beneath her palm. The kind of touch that asks a question without words. Her voice broke. You'll regret this. Maybe, but not tonight. The rain grew louder, a steady percussion against the roof. Her forehead rested against mine. Neither of us moved closer. Neither of us pulled away. I could feel every inch of her restraint, every second of the battle happening behind her closed eyes. Then she whispered, I don't want to ruin you. I swallowed hard. You won't. And in that instant, that half-breath before the world could interfere, she leaned in just far enough for her lips to graze mine. Not a kiss, a confession, a trembling, fleeting yes. When she stepped back, the air felt broken, like something sacred had been touched, then carefully set down again. She looked at me, eyes wet but steady. Now you know. Ido. And for the first time, the silence between us wasn't longing or guilt. It was understanding. Two people finally seeing each other, completely, painfully, honestly. Morning light pushed through the curtains, slow and soft. The rain had stopped sometime before dawn, leaving the air clean, almost new. She was sitting on the couch, barefoot, hair still a little damp from sleep. I'd made coffee, strong, quiet work for hands that didn't know what else to do. Neither of us had said much since last night. We didn't need to. I handed her a mug. She took it carefully, fingers brushing mine, eyes flicking up like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to smile. Thank you, she said, voice rough, almost shy.
I nodded, sat beside her.
The couch dipped slightly under our weight, closing the distance just enough that our knees touched. She didn't move away this time. I didn't think you'd stay, she said after a while. I didn't plan to. Her smile deepened, tired but real. You never do. You just keep showing up. I guess I don't know how to stop. She turned her head, studying me. Not with surprise, but something closer to peace. You remind me that I still feel things, she said. That I'm not finished yet. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Outside, birds had started up again, the world going about its business like nothing extraordinary had happened. Her hand found mine on the couch between us, small, deliberate. No trembling this time, just warmth. I was scared of this, she said quietly. Of what people would say, of how it might end. I looked at her, really looked. Maybe it doesn't have to end. Maybe it just changes what it means. She breathed out slowly, the kind of exhale that releases weeks of tension. You're too young to sound like that. Maybe. Or maybe you just make me older. That got a laugh out of her, soft and real, the kind that reaches the eyes. Her fingers tightened around mine, gentle but certain. Then she leaned her head on my shoulder. The contact was simple, human, nothing stolen, nothing rushed. Just two people finally letting the noise fade. I could feel the steady rhythm of her breathing against me, the faint scent of her shampoo, the quiet beat of something that didn't need words anymore. Do you regret it? I asked after a while. She thought for a moment, then shook her head.
No.
Not a second. I just wish I'd let myself be seen sooner. I turned slightly, brushed a stray hair from her face. You were always seen. Her eyes lifted, soft and shining. And you? I'm still trying to believe it. She smiled at that, the kind of smile that doesn't fix anything but makes it bearable. Outside, sunlight spilled across the room, catching on the edges of her glass, the curve of her hand still holding mine. For the first time, it didn't feel forbidden. It just felt like the truth. We sat there, quiet, close, not needing to decide what came next. The moment was enough, the kind that stays even after the world moves on. And when she finally whispered, "Stay a little longer," I did. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?